All right, so the same people have been crying wolf going back to March, literally when it comes to this whole, oh, we got to lock down because the hospitals are going to be overwhelmed. Ooh, right? Um, and it doesn't make any sense. And it's like I said, they've been saying this since March, and up until this point, I don't think there's a single hospital in Canada or even in the States too. Like I remember back in like March, April when New York was just flooded with deaths, and yet they still didn't have any hospitals that were overwhelmed. I seen people go into some of these hospitals that claimed that they were at capacity and oh they're over capacity or whatever they were telling you, and they were normal, right? Like, they were normal. Um, Again, and this is something I brought up many times, but there's still a lot of people that don't know it, is that hospitals are designed to run at capacity or close to it, right? If a hospital's got 50% capacity, it's probably going to have to shut down because they'll be losing money, right? Or at the very least, they're going to have to cut staff, right? So this is something that you constantly hear, but yet you have these people that they don't bring it up, and it's either they're ignorant or they're they have bad intentions, right? Because again, another thing to point out too when it comes to this kind of stuff is all cause mortality for 2020 is it's a normal year. It's a normal year. So again, like what evidence do we have of this? Hospitals are going to be overwhelmed. Ooh, right? But there's no evidence of it. And here's the thing: maybe there is one or two hospitals that have been overwhelmed. That's one or two hospitals. If you look at this Robert here on RDS Stewart 123 says Ontario has 150 people in the ICU with the virus. Ontario has 400 hospitals, so Ontario has on average um, just under zero point 0.4 of a person per hospital in an ICU with the virus. That doesn't mean they're actually there because of the virus. They just have the virus in their system. Now again, it's a very good point that this is the thing to bring up too, is that you have these idiotic people. And again, I don't want to be overly mean to people, but again, we're past the point of being worried about being mean to people, because advocating for lockdowns and destroying people's livelihoods, again, I draw the line there. This isn't a basic political argument. So again, people that support this kind of stuff, yes, they are idiots. Um, but again, this is the thing, like I brought up with Alberta. We have, I mean, Ontario, the number is probably quite a bit higher, but in Alberta, we have over a $20 billion budget for healthcare every year. Not to mention that number has gone up pretty significantly this year. It's probably 25 or so, but who knows? I don't know if they actually have the official numbers out there, but it's bare minimum $20 billion, and we have like 50 people in the ICU. I think we got like 250 in the hospital. You have a $20 billion budget and you can't deal with 50 people in the ICU? Like, are you joking? Like, come on. Like, these are people that I really don't understand. I don't understand. I think that there are people that they believe the mainstream media's propaganda, right? They believe the propaganda that this is, oh, it's going to be doomsday if we don't shut down, right? And they're not living in reality. They're not. And here's the thing too, that they would say the same stuff when the other way around. But again, who's been right up until this point, right? Like these same people have been saying, "Oh, we got to lock down and stay locked down for 8 months," and they've been wrong the entire time. The hospitals have not been overwhelmed, right? They just haven't been. And again, one of the biggest points they bring up, transitioning here, is from Matt Walsh, and he says the mask work doctrine is unfeasible. If cases go down, it proves they work. If cases go up, it proves we need to wear them even more. Literally nothing can be considered evidence against masks, and that should tell you something. And again, you could say the same thing for lockdowns. You could say the same thing for any kind of argument when it comes to this whole situation. And it's the point I've been trying to make for a long time, is that there is nothing that can happen to get these people to admit they're wrong. Literally nothing. Now, again, they would say the same thing, but again, they couldn't be more wrong on that, because what would needed to have happened for people like me to have been proven wrong should have already happened by now. And it should have already happened long ago. And it hasn't. In fact, the opposite has happened, right? Again, the point I've always been making is that I think it's very obvious at this point, it has been for 6 months now, that whether or not you lock down or whether or not you take the Sweden approach, There's almost no distinguishable difference in the numbers. Whether you have mask mandates or not, there's no distinguishable difference. If you gave anyone, doesn't matter who they are, and you gave them 10 or whatever 20 100 charts of let's say half of the ones no mask mandate, half of them mask mandate, nobody would be able to predict with a high degree of accuracy which ones had the mask mandates and which ones didn't. No one would be able to predict which ones had the lockdowns and which ones didn't, because there's no correlation. And if there's no correlation, why in the world are we even considering this still? The GTA is locking down, right? Edmonton just increase the, or just push the mask mandates for over a year, right, till to 2022. And again, they can repeal it, but do you honestly, who would be betting on them repealing it at this point, right? They've already doubled down on something that's clearly false. I would bet money at this point that we're going to be wearing masks past December 31st of 2021. I would bet money on it, because I mean, following the trend, right? All you got to do is follow the trend. Where along the trend has it been? Yeah, people, not the everyday person, because I genuinely do believe that the everyday citizen does not want more of this garbage, right? It is a vocal minority, although I think it is close to, I'd say probably, I don't know, 30 to 40% of people probably support this. Maybe like 30. I think that's a pretty good number. Um, and they're almost always, I mean, there is a small percentage of people in that group that are genuinely susceptible to the virus, which again doesn't change anything. Like, you can stay home, you don't have to force the rest of us to stay home. It doesn't change anything for you. But again, most of the people that are for these lockdowns and stuff, they're just paranoid, overly susceptible to propaganda kind of people. Again, I know a couple of these people. Like, they're the kind of people, I mean, they're retired, or they spend a lot of time, or at the very least, they spend too much time watching TV, right? Like, I can tell what their opinion's going to be before they even tell it to me, right? And with a high degree of accuracy. It's almost scary. Again, the people around me, it's almost scary, how easy it is to tell whose opinion is going to be what, just based off the fact of knowing where these people get their news, or at the very least knowing that they don't even care about the news, right? It's very easy once you kind of get into this more. So again, this is a very good point by Matt Walsh here. It's something I've been saying, but again, he sums it up in a very good way as well. In that there is, in these people's minds, there is no scenario that can get them to admit they're wrong. Again, I've seen this. Like, you point out to these people that the cases have, again, the cases are irrelevant, but to these people they aren't. Um, that though the cases have more than 10x'd in Alberta since the mask mandates. What do they tell you? Oh, it's because we're not wearing them enough. People aren't wearing them properly. But this is exactly what these people, either their attention span is that of a goldfish, or they're just that ignorant and stupid that's not even funny. Again, I've said this many times, but I remember talking to these people on social media. I must have talked to at least 10 people, because I remember spending a lot of time on this. And that I told these people, it's like, the vast majority of people, number one, there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to wear them no matter what you do. Number two, the vast majority of people don't wear masks properly, rendering them useless. And like I say, every single one of these people, what did they tell you? Or what did they tell me? Even if it's a small minority of people, it will still make a difference. Well, did it make a difference? No, it made the opposite of a difference. It made things worse. And again, they have their ways of twisting your words too. This is another way that I am very confident in saying what I'm saying, is that um, there's this other person these days saying, oh, they basically twisted my words into saying that I think that mask mandates increase the cases, right? Like, implementing mask mandates increase the cases. But no, if you've ever listened to what I said, um, I said there's no correlation, right? There's a very big difference. And here's the thing, like, there's some experts that have said that too. Like, Fauci and Tam both said that in March and April, that mask mandates will do more harm than good, right? So there's little experts that have said that these people aren't questioning. But when it comes to me, all of a sudden they're all over it. Like, it's really stupid. Um, the next thing to talk about here is from Laura Ingram, and she points out here, Joe Biden's cancer charity spent more than 3.7 million on staff salaries, but distributed zero towards research grants over 2 years. Tax filings reveal. And again, this is how these rich people, how they make a lot of their money and how they do it tax free. Again, this is one of the things that a lot of these lefties point out, that they're too ignorant to realize. That they say, oh well, this rich person wants their taxes increased, or these big corporations want more taxes, right? Well, they're too stupid to realize that they have their ways of getting around these taxes, right? And again, how do you think that these people get net worths well into the millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars sometimes, with on a career, 150, $200,000 salary, right? Like, well, how they do it is they do shady stuff like this. Again, so it's a very interesting thing and again, the left always, though, they're so worried about Trump not paying his taxes, even though they've provided no evidence of that whatsoever. But yeah, Joe Biden does shady stuff like this, and they could care less, right? It's almost like they're hypocrites. And the last thing to talk about is from Clay Travis here, and he says the Sacramento Kings fired their announcer for saying all lives matter on Twitter. They replaced him with ESPN's Mark Jones, who said he's afraid police will kill him when he's announcing games, and shares insane far left wing propaganda regularly on Twitter. And again, ESPN is largely a far left. I mean, they're as political as a lot of political organizations. No surprise their ratings have gone down. But again, this is where we're at in society. That a lot of people, probably people watching this, are exceptions to the rule. So good on you. But members of the general public are afraid of speaking up about stuff like this, and they think, oh, it's just a little thing. It's just a little thing. But this is where we're going to be at eventually. If things keep going the way things keep going, eventually it's going to be the point to where you ain't going to be able to get a job if you don't agree with the political overlords. If you're not woke, if you're not woke, you're not going to be able to get a job. You're not going to be able to get a bank account. This is how they're going to do things, right? This is how they're going to do things, right? They're very obvious about it. They're basically telling people it right now. So again, if people don't start speaking up about this more, then the problem's only going to get worse. The problem is only going to get worse. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you check out those links below. Follow me on those other platforms. If you want to donate, you can do that as well. But at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you stay tuned for more.